A very pleasant good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our televiewers and to all of those listening to us on radio, wherever you're located and whatever your time zone is. This is Rita Gadi, together with HOMOBONO ADAZA, welcoming you to our Chronicles. And as it is, we have a title, perhaps a little bit enigmatic, you would say, because it is entitled, What is 2025? I would have wanted to ask the question, are we facing another new year? Or are we looking back the past so many years and just shaking at the crossroads, so to speak, or there where the pathway diverges, they say. I think there was a poem that said something to that effect that how does it go then? Well, whatever it is, life is a balance, they say. It's a balance of holding on and letting go. So are we holding on to the past or we're letting go? Are we holding on to 2025 or do we let it go? But before we start, as I've said, my partner here, Bono Adaza, we're both from Mindanao. And I think we have every good reason to really cry out and ask, what is 2025? So let me quote the opening lines of Charles Dickens' Fearless Cities. Because as we go through this, you will realize how familiar it is to our times. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. We had everything before us. We had nothing before us. We were all going direct to heaven. We were all going the other way. In short, the period was so far like the present period that some of its noisiest authorities insisted on its being received for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison. A tale of two cities, London and Paris. So that is how it goes. If you go through this, especially the last line, that it was so far like the present period, the best of times, the worst of times. So, what is 2025? What is it, Bono? I don't have your audio, Bono. Hold on. I can't hear you. There's something with your microphone that must have... Bono, you'll have to repeat what you're saying. Okay, we don't have your audio. Hold on. Yeah, for those of us who are listening to us and watching, just be a little patient. You know, with the advancement of technology, there are sometimes glitches, and this is one of them. So, Bono, you can start from
Yeah.
the top.
Yeah, 2025 will be an interesting year. But as the Chinese say, when the year is interesting, many things are likely to happen. Just like the opening lines of Charles Dickens in A Tale of Two Cities.
Exactly.
It tells of Paris and London. No?
Yes.
The Tale of Two Cities. And, you know, I hate this kind of feeling now. I felt this way when I was a student at Diliman and trying to orchestrate a demonstration in December to elect a UP president. I also felt this way when I was arguing in the parliament who was the winner on this snap election.
1986.
Yes. I
Yes.
also felt this way when I talked with three generals in the office of then Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, Angelo Ange Reyes. No? The three of them are dead. I'm the only one alive of those who are talking with him. And I hate this kind of feeling. You know why? Because things are likely to happen. And I hope that if they happen, it will be to the great interest of our people and this country. Because in the case of the debates in the Batasang, my expectations failed. The same thing with the conversations with Angie Reyes and General Sabinina and Abat. My expectations also failed. That's why I hate that kind of feeling. You know, when we were demonstrating for the election of EUP president, we were hoping that we'll have a better University of the Philippines. The first victim was me because the one who got elected was the dean of the College of Law. He didn't like me, and he saw to it that I will not graduate at the top of my class, and saw to it also that I will lose my diploma. That's why.
But you were editor of the Collegian at the time, Bono.
You know, I already graduated. They already succeeded in depriving me of my cum laude and possibly graduating at the top of my class. But they were not contented with that. They withdrew my diploma and even asked the Supreme Court not to allow me to take the bar examinations. Were it not for Dean Vicente Abad Santos, who said, "You're already a graduate. God's sake, the UP should give the certification. Okay, go to the secretary, let him prepare a communication for your graduation in the University of the Philippines." That's how I managed to take the bar exams. Because the president and 11 members of the executive committee, that's the deans of 11 colleges and institutes, wanted me not to be allowed to take the bar exams. So I hate that kind of feeling. The feeling I have now because while we succeeded in doing things, yet my expectations failed 100 times. This is the kind of feeling I've got now, and I would like to share what I see in 2025
Okay.
with you and with our people.
Yeah, before we get into that, Bono, we share the same experience as far as taking the bar is concerned, because I got caught with the exit of Marcos in March of 1986 when we were about to be finishing our fourth year in the College of Law in San Beda. And the final exams was practically in that year when Marcos was left. So there were two instructors in the College of Law in San Beda who wrote to the dean that I should not be allowed to take the final exams and that I should be expelled on the probability that I am involved in that Marcos, whatever it is that they were accusing the Marcoses with. So I petitioned the protest of these two instructors all the way to the dean of the College of Law and all the way up to the College of San Beda. And so finally I was allowed to take the final exams.
So
Other
we
than
were in
that,
the same boat.
yes, just about. But this is something which is really quite critical. I find it now hilarious and painful, so to speak. Because when we were already in review class, I was told verbally that my application to the bar was not accepted because the father of one of those instructors who wanted me expelled got appointed to the Supreme Court. And of course, you know that the Supreme Court also changed colors. So I was not I was told not to apply, or whatever my application for the bar was, it's not going to be accepted. So that's what happened, Bono, in my case. But nonetheless, I told the dean of the College of Law, and of course the head of the College of Sambeda. It was still a college then; it's now university. That I should graduate and march in the graduation, and at least I was granted that. So I have the diploma, I have the pictures of my graduation, etc. But I was not allowed to take the bar. So you can imagine the feeling, and it's like your 4 years of well, whatever it is, just suddenly collapsed. But that's the way it goes. Politics came in, and so I remember that several times people have asked me if I wanted to fight it out. My goodness, that was the yellow regime. And you know how it was, no? I was in the newspaper almost for a whole year. And as you said, you met with several military officials. Every time their names came out as plotting something, my name would also come out as a civilian counterpart of whatever it is that wanted to overthrow the Corazon Aquino government. So you had a feeling then. I had the feeling all throughout the 6 years and the 8 coup attempts that happened in those 6 years. Now we are on the verge of what is 2025. And with that feeling that you have, Bono ADAZA, it is really quite dangerous. Expectations are there, the way we had it in 1986. But then, as I've said, our dreams at the time collapsed. And we have tried and tried and tried, and they just collapsed and collapsed. And so we could see how the tale of two cities is exactly what we're facing right now. A comparison which is, as they say in the quotation that I just read, perceived for good or for evil in the superlative degree of comparison. Oh my goodness. The superlative degree of comparison. So Bono, here we are on the verge of an opening 2025 in just a couple of days. And there is this anxiety, we would call it, or some whatever adjective you could use or adverb to describe the feeling that you had then on 2 occasions in the past. Bono, share with us.
Yes, you know, the tale of two cities. The two cities I have in mind is Davao City and Manila.
Just the way
Why?
it was then, London and
Why?
Paris.
The Dutertes are in Davao City and they move around. BBM, the current president, is in Manila. He rules the country from Manila. But there is a challenge coming from Davao. And it's being verbalized by no less than the former president and the current vice president. As a matter of fact, from the linguistic point of view, you have gone to extremes. Extremes that if I were Secretary of Justice, they'll be in serious trouble. but but I'm not. So, what do I see in 2025? There will be a lot of trouble in the country because of the conflict between the Dutertes and BBM.
Just an aside, Bono, before you continue. The Tale of Two Cities actually was already the beginning of the French Revolution.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so you continue.
As a matter of fact, Rita, the book that I bought from a corner store from where I lived before of the Tale of Two Cities, it's the guillotine.
Yes, yes.
The guillotine is there. And I hate looking at the guillotine. But in this case, Sarah will likely be impeached. But whether he will be convicted is another matter. Because impeachment needs only 1/3 vote of the House.
From the House, yes.
Yeah, if there is 1/3 vote of the House, they will send the articles of impeachment to the Senate for trial.
That's where the trial begins.
Yes, and the trial, the decision will have to be done by 2/3 of the Senate, meaning 16 votes. And that's not easy to get these days, 16 votes. Nevertheless, the whole country will be embroiled in this debate between the Dutertes and BBM and his crowd. Now, Rita, there is another component here that has come into the picture, and it's in social media. I was just informed yesterday that a certain Colonel Clemente, Class 83, by the way, Class 83 is the PMA class that adopted the current president as honorary member.
Oh dear.
He is known in his blog, and he has a lot of followers as Cap Dado. I saw him yesterday on the internet, and the threat, it seems that they are known as the Filipino guerrillas, and the threat is that if the vice president will be impeached, they will make their move. I don't know what kind of move they will make. No, and to begin with, they should have a clear understanding on the word impeach, because impeach has two phases. The first phase is a 1/3 vote of the House, sending the articles of impeachment to the Senate.
To the Senate.
And that is where the trial begins. And if convicted by 2/3 of the Senate membership, that's 16 members of the Senate, then the president, the vice president will be removed. Now, with this picture, I think there will be a lot of trouble, because even the ordinary Filipino will take sides. There will be demonstrations in the process. And how far will the demonstration go? We don't know. How far will the group of Colonel Clemente go? I really don't know. But it's interesting to watch what will develop in 2025 in this particular respect. And I hope that this will be resolved earlier. The resolution is in the hands of the president. He should study the provisions of the Constitution. Study very well. He should ask, since his executive secretary, former Chief Justice Bersamin, was Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, maybe he knows the Constitution very well. So he should consult Bersamin on how to resolve this problem. In the case of Duterte also, there's a lot of exchanges, verbal exchanges from both sides. In the case of Duterte, since he brags that he only got 75 in the bar examinations, he better look for a good lawyer who knows his Constitution. Because other than the president, the other one also can resolve the problem earlier is former President Duterte, if he gets the proper advice from a lawyer who knows its Constitution
Yes.
and constitutional law. So I hope these people will use the Constitution in resolving this problem, because to let it fester, it will affect the lives of people.
Oh, definitely. Yes, most definitely.
That the prices of commodities are beginning to reach the stratosphere. The interest. I was in the mall yesterday, and I got shocked at the prices that I saw. As a matter of fact, even my haircut and my manicure and pedicure, it was shocking. I got shocked with the cost of the service. So something's got to give here. And I hope that this problem will be resolved at the earliest opportunity before it festers into a full-blown struggle among our people. And I'm praying, since I'm Roman Catholic, and I'm the son of my mother, who is a devotee
Very
of the
devout, yes.
Santo Niño, devotee of the Santo Niño. I am really praying for miracles. I pray for miracles that, in the national interest, no? In
Yes.
the national interest,
We,
because
we, we need we need we
what
need
are
a
suffering
couple of
every
miracles, really. That's You're so
yes,
correct, Bono. We are
yeah,
at that stage, the way you described it. Other than the movement of retired officers and officials and retired PMAers and several others in the military service who are agitating for, well, it's not just agitating, they're coming out quite openly against the president.
yeah,
Words such as he should resign now or he should pack up and leave, etc., and all. And then all of the issues that are arising. But as we've said, all of this are just verbal accusations. Nothing has yet been come out. Nothing has come out with anything with anything legal. Like for instance, you had, well, Marcos had an impeachment complaint likewise. You remember when the four buildings in New York came out, and then that was part of the impeachment also against him, but that was readily dismissed because, as you said, not enough voted for it in the House of Representatives. And then you had Erap also with this impeachment trial until he was convicted after that. Now we have this on the vice president, the second highest official of the land. But then again, this can be observed as something which is more political than it is actually legal or constitutional, because this all began with the fact that there was an exposure that happened in the House of Representatives that some amount is being utilized for the changing of the Constitution so that there will be this people's initiative, and that there will be there will be some changes for a parliamentary form just as fast as it could be before 2025 and even before 2028. And so that was exposed. But other than that, what really triggered it actually was when the speaker was questioned insofar as his expenses were concerned, not even accused, merely a question asked. I mean, how much are you spending for your travel, etc. And that brought out the the torrent, all of the current against, how would you call it, the tsunami against the station that asked this, and that was the SMNI. And then of course we have what happened. There was the church that was supporting this, headed by Kibuloy, became the object of several of these events. Politically, it's not even religious, but it really is political. So that was how it was then. And we are now faced with this situation where, as you said, a tale of two cities indeed. How the synchronicity is quite, well, my hair stands actually because of how it is so it's so like what it was in the 18th, 19th century at the time before the French or during the French Revolution. But as you said, Bono, here we have um, two divergent poles, the Dutertes and then Marcos and Romualdez, that is Martin Romualdez. But the president himself has said, Bono, that the impeachment is not important. There are more urgent matters to take care of. So we don't know what it actually means when he says this, because Congress did not agree with what he said. Otherwise, they would not have pursued filing the impeachment complaint. And then you have one of the largest church organizations also saying that they stand by the president's statement that it is unimportant when you speak about the impeachment of the vice president. But it is how do you say this? You have the three witches of Macbeth before the cauldron, and that is where trouble, is coming out, and that's how you described it. So, what do we fear in 2025, knowing the horizon boiling from the cauldron of these three witches of Macbeth?
the fear, Rita, my fear is the country will be embroiled in a lot of trouble. And the foreign elements will be involved in this country when there will be trouble. First, it's a matter of common knowledge that former President Duterte has the full support of the People's Republic of China. It's also a matter of common knowledge that the President has the full support of the United States of America. Yeah. So it's not only a clash of the domestic forces here, there is also an anticipated clash, whether subliminal or open, between the two countries, China and the United States of America. The United States of America has presence here, effective presence in the number of bases that is under EDCA. No? And
nine of them actually, scattered all over the country.
Including one in Cagayan de Oro at Lumbia. that's what scares me, because I have a place in Cagayan de Oro. And the other thing is, as mentioned before by former Senator Ping Lacson, many of the members of POGO, and they have not been deported yet, not all of them, just a few that's been deported, are members of the People's Liberation Army of China. So that's about, according to him, 3,000. Okay. A knowledgeable person was laughing at me when he came to my office, laughing at me when I mentioned Ping Lacson's estimate of 3,000. You know what he told me? You know, I've been to China. He said, I've been to China. I know some strategic people in the country. I've been there several times. 3,000, that's a joke. Go, why? Why is it a joke? There are about 1 million members of the People's Liberation Army in the Philippines. If there's 1 million, you know, during the Japanese times, there were really few businessmen, some in Davao City, Furukawa, and not Davao province, Furukawa plantation, no? The banana plant, and then some stores here in Metro Manila and in Cebu and in some other places. They could not number 3,000 at the time. The Japanese were here. But 3,000 members of the People's Liberation Army or more, as the one quoted to me by the one who visited me here, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. Because mistakes could be made in the decision-making process, either by the Dutertes or by the People's Republic of China or by the President and the United States of America. You know, there's going to be a new president in the United States. I think January 21. There'll be Donald Trump, not Donald Duck. Donald Trump will be president. Knowing Trump in his 6 years that's in office, he's the type who will go to the brink. He's the type who goes to the brink. He's also the type who will withdraw the forces of the United States in strategic periods, as he suggested before in Afghanistan. And Biden, not using his head, also followed the Trump suggestion. And they have a debacle in Afghanistan. The Americans have a debacle.
Because it was quite sudden. It was quite sudden. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a debacle in China with Chiang Kai-shek.
So many were caught unaware of that exit. You know, so
they had a debacle in South Korea. They have this history of debacles in Korea with Syngman Rhee. They had a debacle in Vietnam with Ngo Dinh Diem and Ban Thieu. They had debacles in other places. So America is not a reliable ally based on its history. I don't know now. I don't know now how Trump can handle the situation, how he can handle the situation in the Ukraine and some other places where they're in trouble. And and I do not easily trust the decision making process of this new president of the United States of America. I don't like to amplify, but
Yeah.
this trouble. This
But
is trouble for the
he really he does not follow the way the bureaucracy actually has operated over the past administrations of the United States. But he has his own way of looking at geopolitics, so to speak. So, but then you will also notice that he would rather do business too, and
yeah,
economics is more important for him. Like the way Xi Jinping likewise also said that it's best to have just business instead of war. So we'll see how that goes because, as you said, we cannot speculate, although past statements and actions may have indicators of what the new administration of the United States would be becoming. But, well, I still have to grant Trump the fact that he went over to North Korea to speak to Kim Jong Un and find out how that parallel line could be settled so that there will be just one Korea after all. Can you imagine how strong that country could be if they would unite? But anyway, I gave as far as I'm concerned, I gave a good, well, a feeling of, some sobriety when it comes to that, because can you imagine if they start testing missiles and it fails to reach the coastline of America in California, and it falls not in the Pacific Ocean, but those missiles will drop here on us, because they're not quite well advanced yet as far as that's concerned. As a matter of fact, they're testing. But it was good enough that Trump was able to have some kind of an agreement with Kim Jong Un that he will stop testing. And I think even China gave warning also to the North Korean president not to be testing its missiles. So there it is. Anything could happen, but as we said, there are indications in the past. But let us look at our country. There is fear that there will be trouble next year, as you said, Bono. There is agitation among the military. There is, well, they make all sorts of surveys, and sometimes we can't rely on the surveys. They say that people are actually just hoping it would be a better year, but there are other surveys that say that there is now an increase in people getting hungry. So there you have it. And then you just said you came from the mall, and the prices of just about everything, your haircut, etc., your grooming, you know, has all has all gone up. The prices have gone up. Well, we go to market once a week, and the prices of even vegetables is really wow. It's really something, by the hundreds sometimes rising up.
that's right.
Yeah, tomato is even 1 kilo of tomato is even more expensive than a kilo of chicken. So you can imagine how it is. Anyway, so that is how it is, Mona. We're facing. That is why I said, what is 2025? We
Rita,
yeah, we go to fortune tellers, soothsayers, or what? Where do we find refuge in this?
I would like to repeat a previous line. I don't like to be presumptuous, but the national interest calls for this kind of advice. To the president, he should get a knowledgeable Secretary of Justice who has brains on his balls and balls in his brains to resolve the problem in the earliest opportunity. To Digong Duterte, former President of the Philippines, and Vice President Sara Duterte, you get a lawyer who knows his constitution and seek his advice, so that you people will not involve the country in serious trouble that will impact on the lives of everybody, including mine. That's why I hate the idea of the trouble coming to the country, because it will affect everybody. It will affect everybody. So Mr. President, Mr. Rodrigo Duterte and Vice President Sara, please use your heads and do not involve us in this struggle between two families, because this country is not owned by you. This country belongs to the Filipino people, as very well stated in Section 1, Article 2 of the Constitution. The Philippines is a Republican democratic state. Sovereignty resides in the people, and all government authority emanates from them. You are just the holders of power, but you should know that this sovereignty does not lie with you. The government authorities, that does not lie with you either. It lies with the Filipino people. So remember that. Remember it very well, because by remembering it very well, you will make the correct decisions.
This goes for both camps because I am not just referring to, as you mentioned, the tale of two cities of the Dutertes in Davao and the president here in Manila. But if you look at it, Sara Duterte is not a direct threat to our president. She is not a direct threat now, and and neither will she be a direct threat in 2028. So,
No,
where is this coming from? How could you be a threat to the president now? I mean,
Rita,
at this stage.
I see threat to the president because of the sounds coming from these people, from these people in retired military or in active service in the military. You know, these guys are the ones creating also problems and maybe fueling both sides, both sides. So I hope that these guys, because there is a group also of retired generals that has come out with the declaration, which is
With
not which is not favorable to the government, not favorable to the president. So I think the Secretary of National Defense and the Secretary of Justice should tell these people that making these statements by way of declarations will create problems in this country. And if they continue to create problems, there are laws governing this, laws from, especially from the Secretary of Justice. The pivotal department of government now in a troubled situation is Secretary of Justice with brains in his balls and balls in his brains.
and the
That's
Department of National Defense. I think both these departments are so critical at this stage
yes, yes.
because yes, these two offices, as a matter of fact. So they really should be supportive of the president's statements, because if we follow the statements made by the president, then you can be assured that he's doing his best to be able to calm the people, not to worry about these things because there are other priorities right now. For instance, you have a budget on his table, see, which has to be reviewed because he does not follow the traditional reenactment of the old budget. So he's going to have some kind of a line veto, so to speak. But his own sister in the Senate has come out with several of the items thereat, which could be reviewed carefully. Now, you're referring to the military that is agitating this by making such declarations. So that is where the Secretary of National Defense should look into this quite seriously, because that falls under the peace and order situation and the security of the nation as it is. So why is this agitation coming out? Of course, there are a lot of talks about corruption, etc. But corruption has been there from the beginning of time, but now they say it has, well, how did you say it? How did you describe it? It has skyrocketed in such
Yeah,
a manner that it is not just appalling, it is debilitating already, even your own mind. So it is something that is so difficult to absorb, especially when you see what has been done. Um, on Facebook, for instance, several analysts have come out with items which have been decreased, items which have been increased. And you don't have to be an expert in preparing a budget or reading reading a budget to see why is this happening? Why is some departments receiving so much and departments which involve the healthcare of the people, education, etc., why are they being decreased? So as we've said, for the layman's perception and for the reality that there is actually in the General Appropriations Act, there is reason why there is agitation coming from several groups because we understand that even some religious organizations are joining in. Now, with all of this happening, what could you sense as far as this is concerned when we speak of what is 2025? You know, you said there probably won't be any elections, or there probably be something else that will happen that will prevent something else. So let's be suspended on this.
Yeah, Rita, really, no. Based on my own experience, I'm making these suggestions and these judgments based on my own personal experience. Because you know, I was uh, I was a strategic participant, no, in 86, and I knew the turns of events in that period. I was also active participant in the uh, Estrada house there. No? I was an active participant, as I mentioned, and I'm not denying. You know, I'm not denying, since anyhow, if the action is to be taken, it has prescribed a long time ago, and there were four people who really talked about the withdrawal of loyalty of support from President Iraq. Three generals, three generals, and they're all dead, and one civilian. I don't like to identify the civilian, but I knew this for a fact. So, knowing the events that took place at the time, I could see that there are effective solutions to avoid the problem. As I mentioned earlier, and I hate to sound like a broken phonograph record, the president better get a good Secretary of Justice, because if he does, these problems will be solved in January of 2025. And as he mentioned, we can go through with the governing the country very well without the troubles involving the government and the people. Please, Mr. President, a new Secretary of Justice and a new Secretary of National Defense. After that, there will be also others who have to go, because, you know, building a country is not easy. You need you need the best and the brightest, and dedicated and committed to the people and the country. You know, even Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he got Republicans also as members of the cabinet. Same case with John F. Kennedy. He got also Republicans as members of the cabinet. Forget partisanship after every election. Forget it. Because the main purpose of being a leader is to govern for the government and for the people. Like governors, their duty is to govern their province. Forget about politics. Partisan politics is only during the campaign period. But after the campaign period, when it's resolved, forget it. It's not good for our people. It's not good for the country. Yeah,
I
that's
think
what.
the president has done well to broaden the horizon of his members of his cabinet. I don't think that he was partisan in the choices that he made because, as a matter of fact, a lot of Marcos loyalists were complaining why other colors were coming in. So, to the credit of the president, we have to say that he has really broadened um, those that he has appointed in specific positions. But then after 2 years, then we could see exactly what the performance was. And
Yes.
so he means well, as I've always said, there is only one seat in the pinnacle of power, and only he can see how things are, which we do not see. But at least, as I've said, to his credit, even as he started his administration, he already embraced just about anybody that he felt would be qualified. Some have left, some have been reappointed, some have been transferred, etc. But there are two critical departments that you mentioned, Bono: justice and defense, which are really so important at this stage. Because the economic experts and geniuses, etc., they can go around just doing their bit, but that's how it is. Inflation comes up. We've just had several disasters. We just finished with the pandemic, etc. So maraming dahilan why it is difficult. But again, I think also the management of our finances, budget should also be taken care of, because that's where the problem is coming in. Now, do you have any names to suggest while we are on broadcast all over the world? And hopefully that locally,
Rita,
some of those in power may be listening in.
Rita, I cannot
So
say
we
it.
mean well when we say that maybe we could suggest some names. Mono, you would know, perhaps,
I,
because
I know some people.
the
I will not.
president at this stage, most of the people they would have
I
already
will.
died, as you said. So,
I will not mention them publicly.
oh,
I
okay.
I know a number of people that can fit to be Secretary of Justice
Well, that
and
would be good. Then maybe that should be relayed to the
That- that's
president,
that's
yeah,
the
confidentially.
that's the secret that I can share with the president.
Yes,
I cannot share it publicly because Rita, the president and everyone involved should be reminded by these words of President John F. Kennedy. In politics, there are no permanent friends or permanent enemies. There are only permanent interests.
interests, yeah.
And the other statement which he mentioned during his inaugural speeches, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for
They
your
do for your
country.
country. Exactly. And
Best that
so, yeah,
we remember these words because these are words of wisdom coming from a man who was a good president of the United States of America and whose intellect is really beyond question. Because I have read Kennedy through and through the biographies and his book, no, Why England Slept. So I think it would be best for us to be guided because words of wisdom do not have nationalities. They may come from an American like the Kennedys, but they have universal application. Uh, we should not be fault them for their nationality because there are no borders in words of wisdom.
exactly. And that is how important words are, as we say. We tell the stories of our country because the stories we tell make our nation. The quotation that you cited, Bono, is what we have to keep on repeating. Ask not what your government can do for you, but ask what you can do for your government or for your country. Now, that's the question that we have to ask ourselves when we say, what is 2025? What do we do?
Well,
What
I
can
have
we do?
mentioned, I have
What
mentioned
should we do?
what the president should do and what the Duterte should do. As
Yes, these are
to
the two camps, but we're asking ourselves now. We're addressing ourselves. What can you and I have been
that,
talking for what? For since
that
1966 on changing the constitution, etc., and all of this. But what can we do now when we
that's a
speak of
very good
2025?
and still interesting question. But if you ask me personally, what what should we do?
Yes.
That's my trade secrets. I will let this some communities in this country know what this man who is hobbled by painful knees could possibly do for this country next year. Yes. Yes.
That's I've always asked that question myself too. I remember in my younger years, high school perhaps, or even before I was finishing even until grade 7. My grandmother would always say, you have to make a list of your New Year's resolution. You remember that? A New Year's resolution, or a New Year's resolutions in the plural. I've stopped this for quite some time, but now that's why I say, what is 2025? Now I feel I should really write down priorities in my life, resolutions. I have a novel which has been pending to be edited by myself, which has been there for the past 2 years. I have a book of, I have 150 poems, which I also have to go over in order that I could publish them all together. There were 35 of them that's written in Heidelberg. Can you imagine, all the way out there? And some short stories for children that even won me an award somewhere in California, which I've forgotten all of. So all of this, as far as what I think best that I could do, which is in writing. But other than that, Mona, here we are talking and talking and talking. We were together in Sentido Común, now we're together in the Chronicles. But as we said, we asked that question, what could be a good New Year's resolution? So not just what can we do, but what could be good resolutions for
I,
2025?
I, I want to come out with the book of poems. That's my book of
Yes,
poems. Maybe before February. I want
good.
also to come out with another book which I've been doing for quite some time now. Yeah, New Horizon,
Yes.
Imagine to Build the Country, and two other books whose title I cannot reveal for the moment, which I hope to come out in April. But yesterday, I had a number of friends in my office whom I'm helping with their cases to pro bono, and some of them are running for public office. So I told them, well, I think I cannot be lawyering for you next year because I have my own plans. I may be shifting from Manila to Cagayan de Oro, and maybe, just maybe, organize a movement based on my old political party, the first regional political party that's organized in the country when President Marcos decided to call for the 78 uh, parliamentary elections. Yeah, Mindanao Alliance. I am hoping that by early next year, I can make it a movement,
Very
a
good.
movement
Yes,
in the country, and to challenge people to think.
exactly. Very, very well said, Bono. Um,
Actually,
yeah.
for a parliamentary and federal system and a welfare state, and for the establishment of a clean and lean government.
Very, very well said, Bono. So at least we have
Hopefully,
them all written down to be undertaken this 2025. I also owe this much to the channel that we're using now, Katipunan ng Demokratikong Pilipino, which is actually Sir Butch Valdez, who we will be commemorating again, whom we miss very much within this end of year. He left us quite hurriedly, I would say, but he had this movement, which is to save the nation, and we will revive this and try to make it move, as you said, in a manner that can really get people involved. Priority is logic and ethics. Logic, as you were mentioning, Secretary of Justice and so forth, just right and rational thinking that is most important, and ethics to bring God back into our lives, to bring God back into government. You know how it goes, that it is so important that we hold on to an anchor, and that is it. You mentioned something about words being important. Well, the Bible begins with, the Genesis begins with that. In the beginning was the word. I remember, Bono, how it was during the trial of Mrs. Marcos, and I sometimes would go take a break with Franco Rossellini, the great director at the time. And you know what he was telling me one time? You know what America needs? They don't need psychiatrists and all of this that you have to spend hundreds of dollars just to straighten your mind and fix your emotions. What America needs are fortune tellers. So perhaps we could also go into that, Bono. Fortune telling. You go see a fortune teller and the fortune teller will tell you, ay, nako, magkakakaibigan isang mayaman. Or you're gonna win the, some lotto, etc. and all. So what are we trying to do? We try to entertain ourselves with all of this. But then again, as we've said, what is most important is the moral and the ethical values of our lives. You've mentioned this so many times, Bono.
Well, that's what we will do because movement, the movement that I intend to create is to let people realize what are the best value system that could help us achieve our goals. How character and integrity is important in the decision-making process and
Exactly.
not in our family lives, in the community and in government. We should make people see that day. I want to go back to the days when I was out pamphleteering. Writing the pamphlet, sabi nila, hindi na pwede yung pamphlet ngayon. Mayroon na tayong, may cellphones na tayo. No. Pamphlets are important because beyond cell phones, the pamphlets will be there all the time, which you can read. And that's what
Good.
will be.
That's very important. We have to go back to reading. It
Yes.
is quite alarming that you have 9-year-olds that cannot even read. So there you have the
That's
intention
also
of
the United States of America. 9 years old who cannot read.
Can you imagine how sad that would be? So here we are, Bono, and that is why what is 2025? We want to address that year that is forthcoming. Bono has not predictions, but there is some kind of an adjective that he premises his statement with, and that is that memories of what it was in the past seem to be coming back as he looks at what's going to happen a couple of days from now or within the next few months of the new year of 2025. Oh, by the way, Bono, there is also this astronomical not prediction, but some kind of a phenomenon that's going to happen sometime in the first week of January 2025, where you will have our entire 9 planets aligned, my goodness, and you could see them aligned with your naked eye, except for Uranus and Jupiter, because they're so far out there, but they will all be aligned. That's in the first week of January. And on the third week, or just about before the close of the first month of next year, you will have all of these asteroids really raining the sky as bright as they could. So whatever it is, we look to the stars when it is darkest. That's where they shine the brightest. And here we are at the verge of 2025. Whatever else you may have gone through in the past year, as we are closing the year 2024, dark or light, let us look to the sky because that is where the heavens are. As Bono and I would always say, go back and bring God back into our hearts. So Bono, thank you for having joined me.
For having me, and God bless.
Yes, God bless. So we will be together again in the next month with other adjectives that will describe exactly how we feel of what is 2025. Thank you all for having joined us. This is Rita Gadi for your Chronicles.